Thank you very much. Minister, as you are aware, there's €2 million of taxpayers' money has already been spent on the design stage of a 75-kilometre stretch of road known as the East-West Link, which could provide huge economic benefit to Cavan, Monaghan and the whole border region. Can I ask you, Minister, would you please outline to us today where this is at in terms of progress of that design and in terms of actually putting funding in place for the motorway itself?
2 minutes.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Deputy Smyth for her question. Proposals to deliver an upgraded route linking Dundalk to Sligo, taking in Cavan, involve linking elements of the national road network and regional roads along as direct a route as possible. Essentially, the route involves upgrade realignment works on the regional routes from Dundalk to Cavan and on national routes from Cavan to Sligo. The latter would involve a route that passes through Northern Ireland. In relation to the national element, as Minister for Transport, Tourism and Sport, I have responsibility for overall policy and funding in relation to the National Roads Programme. The planning, design and implementation of individual national road projects is a matter for TII under the Roads Act 1993-2015 in conjunction with the local authorities concerned. As regards the regional road aspect of the proposal, the improvement and maintenance of regional and local roads in its area is a statutory function of local authorities in accordance with the provisions of Section 13 of the Roads Act 1993. Works on such roads are a matter for the relevant local authorities to be funded from its own resources, supplemented by state road grants. The Capital Plan, published in September 2015, provides for the gradual build-up in expenditure on the maintenance and improvement of the road network over a 7-year period. The bulk of expenditure is scheduled to be spent on maintenance of the road network, with some limited investment in new projects. My department has provided funding to Cavan County Council, acting as lead authority with Monaghan and Louth County Councils, with over €2 million in the period 2007 to 2014 to progress the regional road element of the project to preliminary design. At an estimated cost of €150 million, unfortunately it was not possible to include the East-West Link in the Capital Plan.
Deputy Smyth, one question.
Minister, in my own area of East Cavan, there is a high level of industry. We have Abbott's, we have Lakeland Dairies, we have Cartons, all of which hugely depend on a good road infrastructure. You talk there about the local authorities and revenue going to them. Well, my own local authority is down significant funds over the last years, and I take into account that you're new to the position and that is not your fault. However, they are down at least 50% in the investment that's been made in revenue into our local authority. Therefore, the money isn't there with them currently as it stands. The M3 has brought great benefits to Cavan and to that whole area. It's opened up Belturbet, Kingscourt, Virginia, Cavan Town. It's been of huge economic benefit in terms of access. This new East-West link, if it was to progress, there are huge benefits also to West Cavan. It's not too long ago we had a committee meeting where we talked about the exodus of young people and business from West Cavan in relation to not having the infrastructure such as roads, and there is an opportunity here, Minister.
1 minute.
I see your point. I mean, we're back to funding. I mean, that's the problem, and obviously a compelling case has to be made if we're back to funding for anything like that, this to qualify. And I'd obviously very much like to help the Deputy. Let me just outline the background. The National Roads Authority procured consultants in 2001 to carry out a strategic study of the development of an East-West link road. The consultants were to report on the merits and demerits, if any, of such a route, with a recommendation of a preferred route corridor or corridors. The report concluded that an East-West link route was viable and justified, and concluded the most feasible solution was to make use as much as possible of the existing network of roads. The stated objectives of the project were to address the deficiency in the transport network in the region and help connect the local population to the gateway town of Dundalk, the hub town of Cavan and the key transport corridors. These objectives were highly laudable: to reduce the travel times and improve access to regional, national and international markets, as well as education, employment and other services and to deliver improved road network in a cost-effective manner while minimising adverse environmental impacts.
Deputy Smyth.
Minister, this is an important piece of infrastructure. And as you've said yourself here today, 150 million is roughly the cost that would be incurred for something like this. However, Deputy Paschal Donoghue did make an announcement recently of €2 billion of additional capital spending. I would ask that you would put in some representation for us in Cavan Monaghan, because to be honest with you, Minister, we are fed up being left behind in terms of infrastructure when it comes to roads. A very, very basic piece of transport network for that area. We don't have railway. We don't have the broadband that we'd like to have. We totally and solely depend on the road infrastructure in our area. As you know, we have wonderful Indigenous business and small and medium business enterprise in that area. People rely on their own resources to provide businesses and employment. And the only way we can encourage and harness that is if we have the infrastructure that we need in place to do that. So I would urge you, Minister, anything you can do to bring further investment into Cavan Monaghan, and particularly with this east-west corridor that's so badly needed, please do it.
In accordance with standing orders, I can get a question from another Deputy Brendan Smith.
Thank you, Minister. I have two related questions. Minister, you quite rightly referred to the strategic study undertaken in the early 2000s that identified the potential of the route and the need for it from Sligo, Manorhamilton, Enniskillen, Belturbet, Cavan, Cootehill. In the meantime, the Cavan bypass was constructed and the Belturbet bypass was constructed. They are integral parts of this route. In 2009, Cavan, as the lead county council, you said, along with Monaghan and Louth County Council, appointed consultants with specific reference to the Cavan, Cootehill, Shercock, Carrickmacross, Dundalk part of the route. Substantial money, as my colleague Deputy Smyth referred to, has already been spent on planning and design. Minister, we'll all go around in circles going to meetings about Brexit and the challenges. You need funding to bring infrastructure up to a standard, particularly in the border region, where for historical reasons there was underinvestment due to the troubles on our doorsteps. If our industries have any chance of remaining competitive with the particular challenges facing us in the border area due to Brexit, we need modern infrastructure. And Minister, people will say to us, what should the government do in advance of Brexit? They should, one thing is additional investment in necessary infrastructure to try to assist enterprises that are already in existence and creating very valuable employment.
Final response, Minister Ross. 1 minute.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank Deputy Smyth and Deputy Smith for their what is special pleading, after all, and it's perfectly legitimate. This is what this is what happens all the time here, particularly on roads. And I don't want to give you any encouragement because the constraints on the purse are so huge, but I understand the real problems in the border areas, particularly in the light of Brexit, and I think that you have made a good case in those circumstances. But you know, as I said, there's no provision in the capital plan for the East-West scheme. It is open to individual authorities, local authorities, to progress the upgrade of sections of the route from their own resources. While the deputies, both of them, might query whether this project will be considered in the capital plan review in light of Brexit, there are no proposals at present to do so, given that the overall funding available under the review is limited to €2.65 billion across all sectors. The most that can be said is that while available funding is not sufficient to address all the demands for improvement schemes, including schemes such as the East-West Link by the end of the capital plan period, capital funding for the road network is expected to be back up to the levels needed to support maintenance and improvement works. At that stage, there will be more scope to consider projects such as the East-West Link on a phased basis.
Thank you, Minister. We move now to question 35, 30 seconds to Deputy